The galaxy had begun to whisper about the human and the alien girl who changed the odds of war. Trade convoys spoke of a single ship appearing from nowhere to fight pirates, escort refugees, and vanish again before any fleet could trace them. They called it the Ghost Ship of Hope, though its real name was still Odyssey. Inside that ship, Lyra worked endlessly. Her pale fingers danced over the holographic panels, mind connected to the ship's core. Her voice, soft yet confident, echoed through the command deck as she guided Daniel through new upgrades. The once fragile girl was now the heart of something greater. Daniel often watched her in quiet admiration. She was no longer the frightened daughter given as a cruel joke. She had become a strategist and engineer and a light that outshone even the cold stars. Every day she pushed both herself and the ship further. Yet Daniel knew peace would not last. The Zyral Dominion had been humiliated, and Baron Veltharn was not a creature who forgave humiliation. When the first sign came, it was through intercepted transmissions, encoded orders sent across the Empire, hunting for a single ship. Lyra decrypted them easily. Her father had sent an armada. "They're calling it a retrieval mission," she said quietly, her silver eyes flickering with light. "He wants me back." "Or destroyed," Daniel sighed. "We knew this would happen." Lyra's gaze met his. "You could still leave me somewhere safe. He only wants me. You'd survive." He shook his head. "Not a chance. You're my crew, Lyra, my friend." "I don't abandon friends." For a moment she couldn't speak. There was something in his tone, something she hadn't heard from anyone in her life before. Loyalty without condition. So they prepared for war. Odyssey traveled to the edge of a dying star system, where an old human colony had been abandoned years ago. Daniel had chosen it for a reason. It was full of derelict ships, scrap metal, and forgotten machines. To most, it was a graveyard. To Lyra, it was potential. Working together, they began building. Lyra used her neural link to command dozens of drones, reshaping wrecks into automated defense satellites. Daniel reactivated old reactors and patched their shields. Every hour they worked side by side, determined and silent except for the occasional quiet laughter between them. In those long nights, a strange peace grew between them, something unspoken, yet real. Lyra began to feel emotions she didn't have words for. She had been treated as property her whole life, but here she was seen, trusted, and believed in. Once, while calibrating the ship's weapon array, she asked, "Why do you care so much, Daniel, even when everyone else saw nothing in me?" He answered without hesitation, "Because you reminded me of what humans fight for. Not for power, not for gold, but for the ones who've been forgotten." Lyra lowered her eyes, her chest tight with an emotion she didn't fully understand. The day the fleet arrived, the stars seemed to vanish. 50 warships, Zyral cruisers armed with plasma cannons, shield projectors, and drones that could tear moons apart. At their center was the flagship Empyrean, carrying Baron Veltharn himself. His pride demanded that he witness his revenge. From Odyssey's bridge, Daniel and Lyra watched the massive formation emerge from hyperspace. Lyra's voice was calm, but Daniel could feel the tension beneath it. "Signal from my father's flagship. He's demanding surrender." Daniel folded his arms. "What do you want to do?" She looked at the screen for a long moment. "For the first time in my life, I want to stand and fight." Daniel smiled faintly. "Then let's show them what happens when they underestimate a human and his friend." Lyra opened a channel. The image of her father appeared, tall, armored, eyes cold with fury. "Daughter," he said, the word heavy with disdain, "you have brought shame to our name. Return to me and I might show mercy." Lyra's voice was steady. "You showed me mercy when you gave me away, father. You thought I was broken, but I found my strength. I will not return," the Baron sneered. "You defy me? For this creature?" His eyes darted to Daniel. "You think a human can protect you from the Dominion?" Daniel stepped forward. "She doesn't need protection. She just needs to be believed in. And that's something you'll never understand." Veltharn's claws curled. "Then you will die together." The transmission ended and the battle began. The Zyral fleet moved in perfect formation, a wall of fire and plasma. Odyssey was a single ship against an army, but it moved like lightning. Under Lyra's control, it danced through enemy fire, shields flaring and cannons roaring. Each shot struck with precision. Drones from the scrap field joined in, firing from the shadows of derelict hulls. Lyra's mind was everywhere at once, guiding missiles, rerouting power, predicting enemy movements seconds before they happened. Daniel handled weapons and manual systems, trusting her instincts completely. "Target the cruisers on the left flank," Daniel called. "Already done," she replied, a hint of excitement in her tone. "They're aligning too close to the star's gravity well." Seconds later, gravity pulled the cruisers out of position, and Odyssey fired a full broadside. The explosion lit the void like a second sun. The battle raged for hours. Each time the enemy adapted, Lyra found a new tactic. Her neural link pushed her limits. Daniel saw sweat on her pale skin, her breathing fast. "Lyra, rest for a moment," he said. She shook her head. "If I stop, we lose. I won't let him win again." And then the Empyrean entered the fray. It was the size of a city, its cannons brighter than lightning. A single hit from its main battery grazed Odyssey's shields, nearly tearing them apart. Alarms screamed. The deck shook. Lyra's mind flared with data. She could feel every pain of the ship like her own nerves. She whispered, "He's locking on again. I can't move fast enough." Daniel made a decision. "Then I'll distract him. Route all secondary controls to manual." He left his console and ran to the emergency turret station, his hands flying over controls. Outside, the ship spun and fired, drawing the Empyrean's attention. "Daniel, no!" Lyra cried. "He'll destroy you!" "I'm counting on you to stop him first." Her vision blurred with panic. She could feel his life signs through the ship's sensors, fast, erratic. Something inside her snapped. Her fear turned to fire. She pushed her neural link beyond safe limits. Energy surged through the ship's systems as she merged completely with Odyssey. She was no longer just a pilot. She was the ship. Circuits glowed white-hot. Engines screamed. Data became emotion, and emotion became will. In that instant, Lyra saw the entire battlefield like a living map. The enemy positions, their power routes, their formation patterns. And she saw one weakness: the Empyrean's reactor vents near the star's magnetic field. She took control. The drones moved as extensions of her thoughts, forming a formation around the enemy flagship. Daniel's voice came faintly through comms. "Lyra, what are you doing?" "Ending it." The drones overloaded their cores, creating a pulse that bent the star's gravity. For a brief moment, the Empyrean was caught in the flux. Its shields collapsed. Lyra aimed Odyssey's main cannon and fired every ounce of power the ship had left. The beam cut through the void straight into the flagship's core. A blinding explosion followed. The shockwave threw Odyssey across space. Systems went dark. Silence fell. When Daniel woke, alarms were quiet, lights dim. He staggered to his feet and looked around. "Lyra?" No answer. He reached the control seat. Her body was still there, faintly breathing, but her neural link was flickering. He gently disconnected the cable. Her eyes fluttered open, weak but alive. "Did we win?" she whispered. Daniel smiled, relief flooding his face. "You did, Lyra. You saved everyone," she smiled faintly. "Then it was worth it." Outside, the remains of the Zyral fleet drifted silently. Their flagship was gone, their command broken. Across the sector, word spread fast. A single human ship had destroyed an entire armada. The Zyral Dominion would never recover its pride. Weeks later, Lyra and Daniel stood together on the observation deck of a new human base, built from the wreckage they had reclaimed. The galaxy now saw them differently, not as an experiment or a joke, but as a symbol of unity between species. Lyra had built a new body interface, allowing her to move slowly with mechanical assistance. Each step was small, but each one meant freedom. As she walked toward Daniel, he turned, smiling. "You're getting faster," she laughed softly. "You're just too slow to notice." He looked out at the stars. "What will you do now?" "You could lead a fleet of your own." She shook her head. "I don't want power. I just want to help others who were like me, forgotten, underestimated." Daniel nodded. "Then let's do it together." For a long moment they stood in silence, watching the endless horizon of stars. The universe had mocked a human's compassion and an alien girl's weakness. But together, they had changed everything. Lyra reached out her hand, still trembling from effort, and Daniel took it gently. "You know," she said softly, "I think purpose is what makes a species great." Daniel smiled. "Told you so." And with that, the Odyssey launched again into the unknown, carrying two souls who had defied empires, rewritten fate, and proved that true strength was never in power or perfection, but in believing in one. In the cold glow of the Andromean starfields, the grand palace of Baron Veltharn floated above the crimson clouds of his world. The alien baron was a proud member of the Zirel Dominion, an empire built on wealth, cruelty, and arrogance. Tonight, his halls echoed with laughter, the kind that only the powerful made when mocking something weaker. And at the center of the feast sat one lone human, Commander Daniel Reeve of Earth. Humans were rare in this corner of the galaxy. To most of the Zirel nobles, they were considered primitive scavengers, a species of clever beasts that had stumbled into space through luck and stubbornness. Daniel knew their words, their sneers, and their pride. But he was here for a reason, to secure a trade route between Earth's small colonies and the Zirel mining networks. He needed allies, even if they despised him. The banquet stretched into the night. Alien musicians played shrill instruments, and servants floated trays of glowing nectar. Daniel sat straight, every motion measured, refusing to let them see discomfort. The Baron noticed this restraint and smirked. "So, human," Baron Veltharn said, his voice slithering like oil, "you claim humans are a noble race. You speak of honor, compassion, and reason, yet you live in iron boxes, fight in scraps, and beg for trade." His guests laughed, sharp and cruel. Daniel didn't rise to the bait. "We fight for what we build," he said calmly. "And we build for those we care about. It's not wealth that defines greatness, Baron. It's purpose." The hall went silent for a heartbeat. The Baron tilted his head, intrigued by the human's courage. Then he chuckled, a sound like stones grinding. "Purpose, you say? Then perhaps I should give you one." He snapped his clawed fingers. A pair of armored guards entered, carrying a floating platform. On it lay a frail figure, an alien girl, young, pale, and motionless. Her lower body was encased in thin metal braces. Her silver eyes stared blankly ahead. "This," the Baron declared, "is my daughter Lyra. She is useless. Paralyzed from the waist down after a genetic failure. No mind for politics, no strength for rule. She brings shame to my line." He smirked. "You humans think compassion is power. Then take her. She's yours." The crowd burst into mocking laughter. Some clapped, others jeered. The Baron leaned back, pleased with his cruel joke. "Consider it a gift, Commander Reeve. Let's see what your precious humanity does with broken things." Daniel froze, anger boiling under his calm mask. Every instinct told him to refuse, to throw the insult back. But then he looked at the girl. Her eyes flickered, faintly alive behind her stillness. There was fear there, yes, but also awareness. She wasn't broken. She was alive. She just needed someone to see it. He stood. "I accept," he said quietly. The hall went silent. The Baron blinked in disbelief, then laughed louder than ever. "You truly are insane, human. Take her. She's yours to keep." Daniel bowed once, then guided the platform out of the hall, ignoring the laughter behind him. The human's ship, Odyssey, left the Zirel system under the pale light of dawn. Inside the medical bay, Lyra lay still, eyes tracing the unfamiliar ceiling. Daniel sat beside her, running a diagnostic on her neural implants. "You're safe now," he said softly. "No one will mock you here." Her voice was faint, mechanical from the respirator. "Why did you take me?" "Because no one deserves to be given away like property," he replied. "And because I think you're more than what they see." Lyra blinked. For the first time in years, someone had spoken to her like a person, not a burden. Over the next few weeks, Daniel learned her story. Lyra was intelligent, far beyond what her father realized. Though her body was weak, her mind was extraordinary. She had studied technology, languages, and interstellar navigation from her bed. She could process complex data faster than any machine in the ship, but she had never been given a purpose until now. Daniel modified a neural interface, connecting Lyra's consciousness directly to the Odyssey's AI systems. The first time she synced, her eyes widened as data streams filled her thoughts. The ship's hum became her heartbeat, its sensors her new senses. "I can see everything," she whispered. "The stars, the reactor flow." "Your heartbeat," Daniel smiled. "Then let's put that brilliance to use." Under Lyra's guidance, Odyssey became faster, smarter, more alive. She optimized engine cycles, predicted asteroid drifts, and even coordinated communications with alien networks. Her mind was like a supercomputer, but still human enough to laugh when Daniel made a mistake. Sometimes he'd find her watching the stars through the ship's viewport, her silver eyes shimmering. "Do you think your father was right?" she asked once. "That I'm useless?" Daniel looked at her, then at the starfield. "No," he said simply. "He just didn't have the eyes to see your strength." Her lips trembled, and for the first time she smiled, a small, fragile thing that lit the room brighter than the stars. But peace never lasts long in space. One day, while passing through the neutral zone, Odyssey picked up a distress call. A Zyril transport was under attack by a pirate fleet. Daniel hesitated. The Zyril had mocked him, humiliated him. He owed them nothing. But Lyra's voice came through the comms. "It's one of my people," she said. "And there are civilians aboard." "We can't ignore it." Daniel sighed and nodded. "Prepare the ship for combat." Odyssey dove into battle. Plasma fire streaked across the void, illuminating the darkness in violent flashes. The pirates were many, their ships fast and deadly. But Lyra's mind danced across systems, calculating movements, countering trajectories, predicting attacks before they came. Under her control, the ship became an extension of thought, smooth, precise, unstoppable. The pirates tried to flank. Lyra rerouted power, cutting life support to fuel shields. Daniel's hands moved with hers, trusting her instincts. Together, human and alien thought as one. Missiles fell like rain. Pirate ships erupted in blue fire. Within minutes, it was over. The Zyril transport survived, its passengers safe. Daniel opened comms, expecting anger or arrogance. Instead, the captain's voice came through, shaken. "Who are you?" Daniel looked at Lyra. "Just a human," he said, "and someone the Zyril threw away." When the report reached Baron Veltharn, he didn't believe it. The message described a human vessel saving one of his trade convoys from annihilation, and at its core, a girl who identified herself as Lyra Veltharn. His daughter. He smashed his glass in fury. Impossible. She's crippled. But the proof was undeniable. Images of Lyra, her face calm, commanding the ship's bridge, circulated among the networks. Zyril nobles whispered in shock. The Baron's joke had become the galaxy's most embarrassing story. Meanwhile, on Odyssey, Lyra was changing. Each victory, each new challenge made her more confident. She designed upgrades for the ship, merging alien technology with human engineering. Daniel often found himself marveling at her genius. She had turned his vessel into something no human ship had ever been, a living machine guided by heart and intellect combined. But Lyra's past haunted her. "He'll come for me," she said one night, her voice small. "He won't forgive this," Daniel nodded. "Let him come. You're not alone anymore." She looked at him for a long time. "You're strange, Daniel. Most humans would have left me." He smiled faintly. "Most aliens wouldn't have seen what I saw." Outside, the stars shimmered across the black void, quiet witnesses to the bond forming between a human and the alien girl who had been given away as a joke. But what had begun as cruelty was now something far greater, a partnership that would shake empires. Because Lyra Veltharn was no longer paralyzed. Her body might have been weak, but her mind was free and powerful. And the galaxy was about to learn what that truly meant.